I have met everyone in his journey as a nomad entrepreneur. Brokies in Bangkok, dreamers in Lisbon, and they all call themselves entrepreneurs. Some of them are, some of them just want to be called an entrepreneur. But not all of them are building something real or actually playing the game. Through my life, including 3 years of sales, I talked to thousands of people. On my podcasts and during my travels, I met multiple millionaires and people who are doing over 10k a month, 50k a month, some of them even 100k a month. And after meeting all these people, I started to see a pattern, not just in how people spend their money, but in how they think, how they move, how they live. And there is one thing I can tell you full certainty. There is just a massive difference between being an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur. And in this video, I'm gonna break down 10 key traits that separates those two. And trust me, once you've seen this, you can't unsee it. So be warned. Or if you are an ambitious person, this might be the wake-up call you've been needing. But before we get into the list, let's make one thing really clear. This isn't about shaming anyone. I've been the wantrepreneur, scrolling through YouTube, over-planning, overthinking, buying a domain name before doing even anything. And most of the people I met, they didn't even know what playing the real game looked like. Because let's face it, Instagram made it look like private jets and a laptop on a beach. But the truth, it's unsexy, uncertain, and uncomfortable. And that's exactly why you get rewarded if you do it well. Because the people who win aren't the ones with the best ideas. They're the ones who show up different, who think different. So if you've been feeling stuck with having a big dream but not being able to take the right actions yet, this video is for you. Let's break it down. 1. Action versus intention. Entrepreneurs, they talk about what they're going to do. Entrepreneurs talk about what they are doing and what they did. Even if it's messy, even if it's sloppy, because they know the market doesn't pay for your ideas. It pays for your execution. You see it a lot of times on conferences, and believe me, I've been to a couple. People come to get inspired. And if you ask what they did so far, you always get some story why they did not start yet. But this is just the beginning. 2. Scarcity versus abundance. Entrepreneurs, they obsess over competition. They think there's never enough money, clients, followers, attention. They think in scarcity, as if life happens to them instead of having control over life. Entrepreneurs, they know the game is abundant. There's more than enough, and they understand that value creates demand. The real ones, they don't hoard secrets. They share, they give, they build relationships, not walls. In Bali, I met a guy doing over 50k a month, who was also one of my most recent podcast guests. I had him on 2 times. There, he literally said, share everything that you know without holding back. People come to you for the implementation of the knowledge that you have. And when you share, you become an authority in the market. 3. Waiting for permission versus self-initiation. Here is where it gets real. Entrepreneurs, they wait for a sign from the universe. A green light, a mentor, approval. A perfect moment where everything will fall into place. Entrepreneurs, they just start. They move before they're ready. They build the plane while flying it. As also one of my podcast guests, Louise, said it. And to give her some credentials there, she literally built a tech company from zero to hero. She did a tech IPO and she did merge and acquisition for a company as well, all in the tech sector with over 20 years of experience. Entrepreneur's plan, entrepreneurs, they just pull the trigger. But what separates the real ones from the rest is this. 4. Victim mentality versus radical ownership. My personal favorite. Entrepreneurs, they blame the algorithm, the market, their ex, their parents. They outsource the outcome to others, but never look at themselves. What did they do wrong? What could I have done differently? But entrepreneurs, they take full ownership of wins, of losses, of everything in between. They don't say, why is this happening to me? They ask themselves, what can I do about this? Well, I met so many people who failed their first business before they had their breakthrough. Making mistakes is part of it, but you learn from them and you go forward. Number 5, information addiction versus data-driven action. That's the trap that keeps most people stuck. Entrepreneurs, they binge podcasts, scroll Instagram carousels, and hoard YouTube strategies like a digital junkie. I just call that mental masturbation. It feels good, but it pushes nothing forward. Because when you ask the same people, what did you actually implement of all of this? Then, exactly, crickets. Entrepreneurs, they learn with a purpose. They consume to execute, not to feel productive. One input is one output. When you have time to consume, you have time to create. Let that one sink in for a bit. 6. Fear of judgment versus fear of regret. Entrepreneurs, they let other people's opinions dictate their actions. What will they think if I post this piece of content? What if I fail when everyone sees it? So they wait, they polish, they hide. But entrepreneurs, they're more afraid of waking up in 5 years' time, being stuck in the exact same place, not being able to change anything. And the only way to get change is through action, and you only take action if you do the thing that you need to do and just publish without judgment. Because just as you are obsessed with yourself, so is everyone else. So who cares if it sucks? You learn, you improve, you get better. My personal fear is looking back one day and thinking of what could have been. Alex Ramosi, he phrases it like this: the one's judgment you listen to is the one who has control over your life. Let's keep on going, because it's only getting better. 7. Spending versus investing. Entrepreneurs, they chase dopamine. New gadgets, expensive dinners, design stuff, travels they can't afford, just to make themselves feel good or look good on social media. But entrepreneurs, they think in terms of ROI, return on investment. Every dollar has a job. They're conscious about the transactions that they're making, emotionally and financially. They invest in skills, mentors, masterminds, things that compound to pay off their ignorance debt. One of my friends that I met in Bali literally said once to me, since I started working more on myself and investing in mentors and masterminds, I feel better in life and I feel better in business. And it's not only about feeling better, he actually earns more as well. But his outfit, a plain t-shirt with some flip-flops, but a good laptop, since that's what he needed for work. 8. Busy versus productive. And this trait, this is what no one really wants to admit. Entrepreneurs, they worship the hustle. Always grinding, always in a meeting, always working on something big. And that sounds really good. But if you check the scoreboard, nothing is shipping, nothing is scaling. Entrepreneurs don't just fill time. They move the needle. They do the actions that are required to get certain results. They know the difference between just doing stuff, motion, and progress. They track, they delegate, they prioritize. It's not about looking busy, it's about getting results. In the way Steve Jobs did it. This is what I learned from the Diary of a CEO in the episode with Kevin O'Leary, one of the sharks on Shark Tank. It's about your signal to noise ratio. Steve Jobs put 80% of his time in the most critical tasks, signal, and allowed no more than 20% for less important distractions, the noise. Number 9, surface level connections versus strategic relationships. Entrepreneurs, they chase the wrong circles. They network for validation, party, or because someone seems cool. But their circle, all surface level or just filled with nobodies who do not bring them up. No depth, no ROI. The transaction does not make sense. And I made an entire video about this topic, relationships as a nomad. Because entrepreneurs, they're intentional on who they spend their time with. They level up their environment because they know your circle shapes your ceiling. They build connections with people that help them up, inspire them, hold them accountable. Because growth doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in rooms where everyone is playing to win. If you're the smartest in your room, you're in the wrong room. And if you ever felt stuck, this one might be the reason why. Number 10, motivation versus discipline. Entrepreneurs, they rely on feeling good to take action. If the vibes are right, they move. If it's hard, they'll wait. Entrepreneurs, they show up regardless. They build systems that carry them through the day when motivation runs dry. Because success isn't about doing your best when you feel great. It's about doing what's required, and especially if you don't want to. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is what makes you succeed. So here's the truth. We all start as an entrepreneur. And I'm not perfect in all those 10 areas as well. But if I'm being honest, what separates the real ones, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's not timing, it's choice. Choosing action over perfection, choosing accountability over blame, choosing growth, discipline, and the uncomfortable conversations that lead to a better life. I've seen this in every country I've been. At dinner tables with a multimillionaire, in hostels where people say, someday I want to start a business. And the difference, it isn't who they were, it's what they decide to become. So ask yourself right now, am I building or am I just pretending? Am I surrounding myself with people who sharpen me or people who distract me? Because if you're ready to make the jump to go from wanting to creating, it starts today. Pick one of the 10 traits and flip the switch. Build the muscle called discipline. Because your dream business, your dream life, it will not build itself. But you can build. Subscribe to the channel to follow my own journey as a nomad entrepreneur, where I share all my lessons from all the people that I meet and all my experience that I have in this whole journey, because this is just the beginning and there's lots and lots of cool things coming and more lessons to learn. This year alone I had 1,000 fuck ups. And if you like this video, I'm certain that you will love this video over here. No, really, you will love this one. Visionaries, as always, take action, create your own story, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.